1977, in one of the poorest countries on earth, 8 white horses were brought out to pull a golden imperial carriage. The heat was brutal. The ceremony was supposed to look like Napoleon. The crown was covered in diamonds. The throne was shaped like a giant golden eagle. And then, before the emperor could even complete his fantasy, 2 of the horses died in the heat. So the man who wanted to look like Napoleon finished his royal procession in a limousine. That man was Jean-Bédel Bokassa. And this is not just the story of a dictator who lost his mind. It is the story of a child orphaned by a colonial system, trained by France, decorated by France, funded by France, and finally overthrown by France. But here's the part that makes this story insane. The diamonds that helped make him powerful would later come back and poison the French president who protected him. So keep 3 clues in your mind: a dead father, a crown of diamonds, and a school uniform. Because by the end, all 3 will connect. Bokassa was born in 1921 in what is now the Central African Republic. At that time, it was part of French Equatorial Africa. His father was a village chief. According to historical accounts, he resisted French forced labor and tried to protect detained villagers. In 1927, Bokassa's father was beaten to death. His mother died soon after. Bokassa was 6 years old. A child whose family had been destroyed by the colonial world would grow up trying to copy the empire that broke him. That is the first clue. The orphan did not grow up hating France from the outside. He entered its system. In 1939, he joined the French colonial army. He fought for free France during the Second World War. He fought in Indochina. He rose through the ranks. He earned medals: the Legion of Honor, the Croix de Guerre. To France, he was useful. To himself, he became something more dangerous. He became a man who had learned 2 lessons at the same time. Power wears uniforms, and violence gets rewarded. When the Central African Republic became independent, Bokassa returned and joined its new army. The president was David Dacko, his cousin. Dacko gave him rank. Dacko gave him position. Dacko made him army chief. And then, on New Year's Eve, 1965, Bokassa betrayed him. While the country was moving from one year into the next, Bokassa moved from soldier to ruler. The coup began on the night of December 31st and carried into January 1st, 1966. By morning, David Dacko was gone. Bokassa was in control. At first, he was president. Then he ruled by decree. Then he became president for life. Then marshal. And then, in 1976, he decided that president was too small. He declared the republic dead and announced the birth of the Central African Empire. He would no longer be President Bokassa. He would be Emperor Bokassa I. Now this is where the story stops being normal dictatorship and becomes theater. Because Bokassa did not just want power, he wanted a performance. He wanted history to look at him the way it looked at Napoleon. So on December 4th, 1977, he staged his coronation. Not in Paris, not in Rome, in Bangui, the capital of one of the poorest countries on earth. The event cost roughly $20 million, with some accounts putting it even higher. His country's entire economy was only a few $100 million a year. People were poor. Schools were broken. Most of the population survived close to the land. But Bokassa wanted an empire, so money flew. The throne was a giant golden eagle. The crown was covered in thousands of diamonds. The robe was covered in pearls and crystal beads. Wine and champagne were flown in. Food was flown in. Luxury cars arrived. A French orchestra played. European designers prepared the clothes. Everything had to look imperial. Everything had to look untouchable. But the world did not come. No head of state came in person. He had invited the world to watch him become an emperor. The world mostly stayed home. And yet that image still matters. A man sitting on a golden eagle throne in a country where children would soon be dying over school uniforms. That is the second clue. The crown of diamonds, because those diamonds did not appear from nowhere. The Central African Republic had diamonds. It had uranium. It had resources the outside world wanted. And France had interests. France supported Bokassa for years because he was useful. He offered loyalty. He offered access. He offered stability on paper. In return, his regime received support. Bokassa himself reportedly joked about it openly. The French gave money. He wasted it. That sentence is almost too perfect, because the coronation was not only a dictator's vanity project, it was a photograph of the whole system. The country mined wealth. The ruler wore it. The foreign power protected him, and ordinary people paid the price. Then came the third clue, the school uniform. By 1979, anger in Bangui was growing. Life was hard, prices were high, and then students were forced to buy a mandatory school uniform. The business was tied to Bokassa's family. For poor families, this was not a small thing. It was humiliation turned into policy. Students protested, and the empire responded the way empires often do when children embarrass them, with force. In April 1979, school children and students were arrested and taken to Ngaragba prison. Rights groups and later reports described a massacre. The number is often given as somewhere between 50 and 100 children killed. Do not let the uncertainty in the number soften what happened. Even the lower end is monstrous. Children were arrested after protesting uniforms, and many never came home. This is the part of Bokassa's story people often bury under the more sensational legend, the cannibalism stories. Yes, prosecutors accused him. Yes, witnesses made claims. Yes, the rumor became famous across the world. But the legal record matters. Bokassa was not convicted of cannibalism. He denied it. The court did not prove it. So the clean truth is darker and stronger. He was convicted of murder. The horror was not the legend in the freezer. The horror was the children in the prison. After the massacre, Bokassa became impossible for France to defend publicly. The same country that had tolerated him now had to remove him. In September 1979, Bokassa was out of the country, in Libya, meeting Muammar Gaddafi. While he was away, French forces moved. Operation Barracuda. Bangui was taken. David Dacko, the cousin Bokassa had overthrown years earlier, was brought back. The empire collapsed almost overnight. The golden throne was empty. The emperor was gone. But the story was not finished, because the diamonds were still moving. Just weeks after Bokassa fell, a French newspaper published a document. It claimed that Bokassa had given diamonds to Valéry Giscard d'Estaing. Giscard had once been France's finance minister. By then, he was the president of France. The exact value of the diamonds was disputed. Giscard called them small. Critics said the story was bigger than that. But politically, the damage was done. Because now, the image was simple. A French president who had maintained friendly ties with an African emperor accused of massacre, suddenly linked to diamonds from that same regime. Bokassa, sitting in exile, kept the story alive. He said he had given Giscard's family diamonds multiple times. Giscard tried to explain. He said the stones had been sold and the money given away. The explanation did not kill the scandal. it fed it. And in 1981, Giscard lost the French presidency to François Mitterrand. Was Bokassa the only reason? No. Politics is never that clean. But the diamonds became a symbol. The emperor's gift had become a curse. And this is where the three clues finally connect. The dead father, the crown, the school uniform. France's colonial system helped create the orphan. France's army trained the soldier. France's money helped sustain the ruler. The ruler turned his country into a stage. He wore diamonds while children paid for uniforms. Then, those same diamonds traveled back to Paris and damaged the president who had treated him like a useful friend. Money moved in a circle, from the mines to the crown to the palace to the scandal. And at every point, ordinary people were nowhere in the room. Bokassa returned to the Central African Republic in 1986. He was arrested as soon as he landed. In 1987, he was convicted of murder and embezzlement. He was sentenced to death. The sentence was later reduced. In 1993, he was released. He died in 1996. But the strangest part came years later. In 2010, his country posthumously rehabilitated him. To some, he was still remembered as a builder. To others, he remained a monster. That is the uncomfortable ending. History does not always bury its tyrants neatly. Sometimes it argues over them. Sometimes it builds myths around them. Sometimes it remembers the roads and forgets the bodies. But the Golden Throne tells the truth better than any speech. A man tried to buy legitimacy. He bought crowns. He bought robes. He bought a ceremony. He bought the image of empire. But no world leader came. The horses died. The children died. The empire lasted less than 3 years, and the diamonds he gave away came back like a curse. So what did money buy Jean-Bédel Bokassa? A crown no one respected. A throne no one recognized. A legend the court could not prove. A murder conviction it could. And a place in history as the emperor who tried to turn a starving republic into his personal Napoleon fantasy. In the end, he did not become Napoleon. He became a warning. When a ruler spends a nation's future to buy his own myth, the throne may shine, but the country pays in blood.